welcome everybody to um, February, first of all. So yay, 2024, we're already into month number 2. Um, but this is the first president sharing call that we are going to be having. This is for all of our chapter leaders. This is a session that's really run through all of you. So feel free to come to these with any questions, anything you want to share with the group. These are your peers. They know best about what's going on, challenges that you're facing, and solutions that will really help you and also help your chapters. So I really am supportive of this group. We started this during the pandemic, and it has really ballooned into something that I think is great to have this network for you all. Before we get started today, I just want to remind everyone as well that we do have the exchange group for all of the chapter presidents, and we're going to be adding the presidents-elect as we've been collecting them this past month, and as they come about. I know some chapters, they have their elections a little differently, so as those president-elects come in, we'll also add them to the exchange group. But in between having these calls, please feel free to use that and communicate with each other, whether, again, it's sharing anything or asking a question that you might be having a challenge with. So with that being said, does anybody want to come off mute and throw a question out to the group? Sarah, I see you came right off mute. You're ready.
Yes, I am ready. Actually, I just got done. One of the things that as a prior president for another chapter that I had started was getting the chairs together of the committees, and then we collaborate, and it was great. And one thing that came up of that meeting just a second ago was a question. So I wanted to kind of ask you guys. We've just started an education committee. We never had one on this chapter that I'm involved with. And so that's big. One of the things that the chair had brought up was around doing an education workshop that would be really designed around the process and or procedures, requirements for a manager to, get designations, to further their career, to do what they need to do. And I guess, what the feedback was that, there's just, it seems like they have to go and dig and dig and dig, and there isn't this one place, or that if you don't have a management company that you work for that really knows or has that education piece, then it seems like the managers are just kind of stuck in limbo. And if they want to grow themselves, it's on you, but it would just be nice to have a really good educational piece that can help managers further their career and whatnot. And so my question was to everybody to see if another chapter has done anything like this, and to get feedback on that, because I thought it was brilliant.
I'll jump in. If anyone wants to come off mute, please feel free, or again, put that in the chat as well. I do know several chapters are planning to do education sessions around that topic this spring. And I know this because they've reached out to us to have someone from our education department come and be a panelist on this panel for it. So I have seen, again, that increase. I don't really think we've had much of that previously these past couple of years, but again, I am seeing that trend happening and coming down the path. So if you are planning to do something like that, please reach out to me. I know you all have my email address within your network, but I'll go ahead and I'll drop it in the chat in a second as well. But please feel free to connect, and we can see if it's available to have someone from our department or our education team come out and be a part of that conversation and talk about the importance of the designations and how that helps with that career path as well.
Okay, I'll reach out to you, Kelly, because that'd be great if we could even start understanding even the documentation piece and all of that, so that we can have this be a recurring event. And it's great to have, I do agree with Kelly with leveraging a CAI person to come out. I mean, that's huge. We usually get a lot more attendance because you have that happen. So that would be awesome.
Absolutely. And I'll look, I know we've got a couple of resources, specifically digital, that we can make sure that all of you have too. So as we're having the conversation, I'll kind of be looking to my side screen and seeing if I can find that, and we can either drop the link in, or again, we can go ahead and get that from Media Valet and out to the network as well. Because I do know we have kind of like a career path image with the designations and some stats involved about how if you are credentialed, it does help with the pay. And again, when you're promoting why to get credentialed in that career path, if you can get paid more, everyone's all about that, right? So we have some of that data around that. Sally, I see you've got your hand raised.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm from Canada, so I'm new to this is my first time at one of these events. So nice to kind of meet everybody. But my question is, we're trying to set up our education committee and kind of light a fire under ourselves. And I was wondering if anybody has developed a tool that lets you kind of plan the education for the year. I'm looking for a kind of year at a glance overview of the sessions, what month they're planned, who the moderator is, when the marketing start date is, that kind of thing. I was wondering if anybody has developed a tool like that they'd be willing to share.
Linda, I see you came off mute. Go ahead.
Yes, I don't know how to raise my hand the other way. We have an education committee. It's been established for many, many years. It's run by most of the people on the committee are mostly business partners and managers. And now a couple of homeowners. I'm the new president, and I'm a homeowner, so I'm going to be pushing the year of the homeowner on everybody. So they have a schedule. They work out a schedule for the whole year, and then they decide the presenters and the topics for the whole year. So we have a schedule of that way ahead of time, and it addresses a lot of the manager and business partner issues that you might go through. And a lot of it you can get credentials for. And so we're having our first annual conference this April, and we're going to celebrate manager credentials at an event on one night and have a manager dinner and celebrate all the work that they do, because managers do a ton of work for very little pay. Let's just be honest. So,
Linda, do you think that tool is something like, do you think they have I'm looking for an Excel spreadsheet or some sort of tool that helps me do that planning? Do you know if they would have something like that they could share?
Yeah, I'm sure we do. We do have a spreadsheet. So absolutely. Will you send me your email and I'll, or put it in the chat and I will send it to you.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, I can create one, but if there's already something that's working well, I'd rather not start from scratch.
And Sally, that might be a great question to also put out in that exchange group, or even to do a look. So there is a document library associated with that. So if someone has shared previously, it does have a search feature, so you can type that in. Again, it has to be very specific, and they had to have named it a certain way, but even just checking out that document library might be able to guide you along that path as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have access to that yet or something. Okay. Someone was going to try and get me in.
Okay,
we'll
verify
under my
that.
communities or something. Is that right? Is that where you find it?
Yes, it is. So if it's not there, then we'll work on our magic on the back end so that we can get you into that. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I don't get on the portal enough. I know it's full of information. Do we have one sheet that lists all the chapter presidents and their contact information? Excuse me.
We don't, just for the fact that we've found that it changes kind of on a fluid. So we would be sending you new sheets, and it gets very hard to manage. But that group does get automatically updated, that if there's ever a change and we mark it in our system, that's getting updated. So if you're ever trying to communicate to the group or ask a question, that's the best way to reach out for that. We do have, as a part of Emily or Grace, if you could drop in the link to the chapter listing. We do list the current president for each of the chapters on our website with contact information. So if you are ever trying to reach a very specific chapter for a question, you can go that route, or again, you can come to anyone on our chapter relations team and we can introduce you or make sure you get their contact information as well. Thank you, Grace, for dropping that in there. around the lines of education and the committee itself, coming up in the next week or so, I will be sending out a message, or our team will be sending out a message with a request for both your education committee chair and your membership committee chair. So if you have those committees within your chapter, in March, we will be holding a very similar to this type of sharing session for those committee chairs. The education committee usually talks about topics that they're planning to have for the upcoming year, or if they're struggling with content. Again, just that peer-to-peer sharing. And then the membership, it's what direction are you guys looking at? Are there any initiatives that worked this past year that you'd like to share? So that will be coming up in March. So again, I highly recommend that both your education committee and your membership committee chairs, if available, attend that, just again as that sharing session with the peers based on those topics. So more information coming for that. Any other questions anyone wanted to throw out to the group? Go ahead, Sally.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the other one that I've just set up a sponsorship program for the chapter. And so we identified a bunch of sponsorships that you can purchase for the to support just the association chapter, or to support the conference, or to support events. And I sort of feel like that's another thing that'd be really awesome if there was a resource of like ideas of sponsorships that have been successfully sold in other chapters as well.
That's definitely within the exchange network, but go ahead, Sarah.
Are you able to tell us, Sally, how big your chapter is? What size you are? I mean, this is a great question. And I've been a part of small ones where you're only, coming up with $15,000 a year. And then, other ones that it's, 20s of thousands and then into the hundreds of thousands. So it's kind of, there is strategy behind it, but it's helpful to know what size you are.
Well, I was going to say, I have a lot of experience with another association where I have managed a chapter with $1 million reserve, to give you context of who I am. But currently, my current CAI chapter barely has its nose above the water and is treading hard. So tiny and trying to get going. But we have a lot of
partners.
We can get sponsorship out of the business partners. It's really just like, I find myself, I'm an engineer and I'm sitting there trying to come up with creative ideas of what the hell you can sponsor at a conference. And I feel like I shouldn't be inventing this from first principles. It must be something that exists that people have thought about hundreds of times. And so I feel like a resource that said, here's some great ideas for sponsorships that everybody could use would be really useful for everybody.
Yeah.
My first thought is like the sponsorship package for every chapter, like going and looking at the sponsorship packages to see what they are selling, and trying to get ideas, because there's some things that are going to work for some, but and maybe doing a la carte, or then building in a bundle is a different strategy. So one thing that I did, so maybe this is an idea for you. One thing that I think is really smart is that if you have events that are really hard to sell, if there's a way that you can package whatever that may be. So like we had a hard sell, we'd have a cruise, it was a social event. It's just really hard to sell those sponsorships. So we attached attendance to a CA Day trade show to that event so that we could sell that really hard event, because they were getting a different benefit that would sell out really fast. And so it was just a way to leverage the two. That was something that we did.
Sally, in Washington, we have a very extensive sponsorship packet. So please go to our website. It's wscai.org. And it's very extensive and detailed, and we have no problem getting sponsorships. So we're very lucky, I guess.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, perfect. Yeah, a couple examples would work. I feel like from a kind of headquarters perspective, it would be a neat resource to have, like, just an ideas of here's sponsorships that work. You know what I mean?
We definitely do. So again, it's within that exchange. That one is built into the chapter executive director exchange. So Sally, you've got access to that.
Chapter executive exchange. Okay.
So, but I see that a couple chapters, again, also listed their sponsorship opportunities and the direct link to those as well in the chat. So make sure you take a look at the chat. And again, the list of the chapters that listing page. It does have all of the chapter websites on there as
Okay.
well. So again, you can, if you want to look for similar sizes, but if there's something specific, we can definitely have that conversation as well, for your size chapter and what's worked and stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
All right. What other topics does anyone want to bring to the table? How it was month one as president? Okay, so far, have you had your first board meeting yet? I
Who's,
see a couple head nods.
Oh.
How did those board meetings go? How did you feel being the leader in the room for that? Zenny, I see you came off mute.
Oh, yeah, I'll chime in. Our first board meeting isn't until the 21st, but we lost our CED in December. So I have been president and CED since then. So it's been really fun.
So you guys don't change your president at your AGM, you change it at your fiscal year end?
It depends on the chapter.
Yeah, calendar. So my presidency started in January. We had our annual meeting in January. So in lieu of a board meeting. Well, actually, no, I take
But
it
your
back.
annual meeting, you need your audited statements if you
Oh,
did an
yeah, there's-
audit, so you gotta wait a few months, right?
No,
Huh,
no,
okay.
but I do take it back. We did. We had our annual meeting and then we had our board meeting the week after that. So, but yeah, very eye-opening in just seeing what the CED is dealing with on a day-to-day basis, because I'm monitoring all the email. You know, we had insurance renewal, we had chapter recertification. So far very educational for me. I think that it gives me a whole new appreciation for CEDs and what their day looks like. So, and I think it also has given me a better understanding of just how the chapter runs, which, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, has been a good thing for me, I think. But we did find a replacement who's going to start today. And he's gonna get started onboarding. And like I said, I think with him being new, me being new as the president, me kind of seeing for the last couple of months what he's gonna be up against. Hopefully that'll bond us in our as we trip over ourselves and figure it out for the rest of the year.
Great. Good luck. Sarah, I had seen you come off mute for a second. Did you want to pipe in?
Me? I didn't come off mute, but maybe another Sarah?
Sarah Marie, I had seen you come off mute. Sorry.
That's okay. And I assumed you weren't talking to me, so we're good. So yeah, we did have our first meeting. It went well. We did not actually make quorum of the board, even though we tried to confirm it 3 times. So it was great being able to say, cool, first new meeting, no go. So we've rescheduled that and that'll be fun. But we did have our first education event. We do our managers workshop in January. And so that was good to roll out the new board and let everyone know what's going on. And so it seems to be pretty good.
Great. Everyone else is just had a fantastic January, no struggles, happy to be in the leadership role. I see some smirks happening on faces, so go ahead, Linda.
I don't know how to say this, but my main struggle is that the past president is having a hard time being passed. And I adore her, and she has so much experience and knowledge and is an amazing person. But she tends to jump in and say, well, this is what we're going to do this year, because we always plan a year ahead. So really, while she was president, she was planning for this year, and I'm president this year, and I'll be planning for next year because all our events are planned. There's very little we can do to change that. What we can do is the strategic ideas and that type of thing. So she had a hard time being quiet during the board meeting, and I'm going to need to address that next month. We were all very tired. We had just come off a 2-day retreat, so it was an exhausting board meeting, but it went well, and we ended on time, and Yay, yay.
That's always exciting when they hand on time. It's never fun when it adds an extra hour or two to the meeting to go over. Does anyone have any advice for Linda on how to maybe deal with that situation? I see lots of thoughts. Maybe in a couple months, you guys might all have some, or Linda's going to have
I was
some
going to
for next
say,
year.
I'll jump in. I mean, I think that the important thing is to just, from my experience in that, is like to just say, oh, thank you so much for helping with that. I really appreciate the help getting me going. You know, and if you say that like 4 times in the meeting, then the other person is going to start to think they're either really thankful or they're really tired of me doing this. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, just keep thanking them so much for their help getting you rolling, to the point that they can't help but notice that they maybe should shut up. Right?
I think that is the most Canadian response any of us could have imagined. So I really appreciate that your suggestion is to thank everybody.
It'll work. I'm telling you.
Throw a couple sorries in there. Sorry.
Really, really appreciate living up to the stereotype on that one, Sally. Thank you very
There
much.
you go. My pleasure. Well, you know what, I've had the experience of having to fire volunteers in my career. So you have to deal with all sorts of nonsense in this volunteer role. So
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Linda, and just my 2 cents would be to take them aside and say, I really want to try and do as well as you did. And I really need to earn everyone's trust and respect. And I think the best way for me to do that is actually for me to take the lead. So if you want to talk with me beforehand and give me some preppers or give me some advice after, that would be fantastic. But if you could let me try and lead the meeting so I can get my feet under me, that would be amazing.
That's some great advice, Sarah Marie. Jan, I see you came off mute.
Oh, yes. I would just like to say, I mean, we were on time, but I don't have that issue with my past president. He is absolutely phenomenal, but our styles of running a meeting are very different. I mean, I laughed because I am much more laid back and he's very regimented. So the stark differences of our leadership styles were already coming to play.
Thanks for that feedback, Jan. Go ahead, Chris.
I've got a question about meeting with your state legislature. We've been having a lot of feedback, negative feedback about people complaining about HOA boards, transparency and such. Do any of you get together at the state capitol and have a positive event, like educate the state legislature on the benefits of community associations? That's what we're trying to set up. Any ideas?
Sarah Marie, I saw you shaking your head a lot during that one.
Yeah, so we do that every year, and that's definitely, I don't know if you have a LAC, a legislative action committee, but that's specifically what they do. But we do have meetings where we schedule the meetings in advance to give them the information and the stats and the history, and then say, this is how it specifically affects your area. And this is why we care. And, we want to make sure that we can be a positive influence, and we're happy to edit any language that you see and things like that before you put it on the floor and make our jobs miserable. We leave that part out. But we do actually do that annually, where we sit down with all of the legislature for our state and visit with them. And we have not just our actual LAC group, but we also have managers and homeowners who volunteer to come out with us and be those reasonable people instead of the stereotypical Karens that are in those communities. But we do have a good, Texas does have a good experience with that.
Thank you.
Yep. And Emily put in the chat too, Florida does that. And there's a couple other states around the country that do very similar things. I will also say, and this is, maybe something that we can bring up to our advocacy team as well, because several chapters that I helped with strategic planning this past year has put this as an initiative, is how do we educate the legislators a little bit better and things. So I think that's a great thing for our team to bring back to our advocacy department and just say, a lot of you are talking about that and interested in that. So how can we make some of that happen in that education piece?
I was going to jump in and say that Oregon, I sit on the LAC for Oregon, and this is on the agenda. We're having a day at the Capitol actually in February. So we'll see how that goes. It's my first one at the state. I've done the federal one, but the other thing that I, just as a suggestion, which I saw this year, is that our LAC started appointing, you have the people that are designated to the LAC and appointed to them, but the LAC can then have members still be appointed that are non-voting. And we started adding on a few more, like attorneys and just, different background individuals that may, if you just get them exposed a bit more, maybe there can be this balance between the chapter itself, because they seem to be always out, in the dark with regards to the LAC, and then you've got the LAC. And so there's this like blend a little bit more. That's something that I'm seeing we're doing. I'm hopeful that it helps a bit more with the advocacy piece, that it's not just the few little members that are on the LAC.
Great, thanks, Sarah.
Sarah, we do something very similar in Florida, and I'm actually the administrator for our Florida LAC, and so I work really closely with them. But we have a legislator relationships committee, and so that committee is specifically focused on building legislator relationships and educating them about who CAI is. So that's their focus, and it seems to be working really well.
You guys, I presume, have, like, similar to here, I presume you have to work through both channels, like the elected officials versus the bureaucrats? Like, we have to know both, right?
All right, great. Okay, who's got the next question? Who wants to throw something out to the group? And there is a lot of chat around that, Chris. So I know you're in your car, but a few people did post some things in the chat too. So I can send that to you afterwards, so you've got a copy of that. All right, what are you most looking forward to this coming year as chapter president?
Vegas, baby.
It will be a great conference. Or are you, by a show of, you can just raise your hand. You don't have to use the other piece if you don't want to. Are you going to Vegas? Will you be at the annual conference coming up in May? That's great. Don't forget, we have the chapter leadership lounge that you're welcome to come to, get some snacks, relax, get out of the craziness of everything else. So we will be sending more information around that and topics that we will be discussing while we're in that lounge. Go ahead, Darla.
Is there a policy on, and this could be a policy per chapter, but is there a policy as to who of the board members get paid, like not get paid to go, but like they get reimbursed to go to nationals? Or is that automatically a certain member of the board? Is that the president-elect, or is it?
So we do require that the president-elect comes to the training. So that's
Right.
the requirement. But in terms of how the chapter funds other members of the board to go, that's definitely a chapter decision. So
Okay.
I've seen some that, they budget to reimburse for 3, or they'll reimburse a flight or a hotel room. And then I've seen others that don't do anything over and above the president-elect to go. So I think that's really the decision of the chapter to make. Anyone who's on the call today, do you send anyone more than just your president-elect to conference?
We do the president and the president-elect.
We do the executive director and president-elect, and this year we're going to add the president.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we're adding the president and the executive board, but we're only paying for the registration fee, and they're on their own to get the transportation portion of it. So everything obviously for the president-elect and the CED is taken care of, but for the other ones, we're just doing the registration fee. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything that you feel you need to help youth this year serving as president? And maybe you don't know that you need that yet, right? Because we're only 1 month in, 1 month and a day into this. Is anyone planning to do anything fun for leap year this year? I've heard some things of people might be, you know, dropping frogs or little just to bring some fun into the chapter life. And so I was just curious if anyone was planning anything yet. I'm seeing lots of confusion. Did everyone know it was a leap year this year? That we've got an extra day in February?
Well, for me, I didn't know we could have fun, so.
Well, perfect. Well, yes, you're always allowed to have fun. I think that's my big key. So think about that a little bit. Maybe I'll task you all with that even if it's something virtually with it. So, oh, dropping frogs, that they're going to hide frogs around for people to find with little candies or stickers, and they're little frogs that you can, like little toys that you can buy from Amazon, like 1,000 for $20, and kind of just to kind of have fun with knowing that it's the leap year for it. So again, it could be rabbits or anything, but I've mainly heard frogs. So
I didn't quite get it until that part, the leap
Yeah,
year. I'm like,
the leap year.
okay, that's what makes it funny.
Yes. Well, if anyone does anything and has some fun with it, send it on our way. We'll make sure that we also have fun in support of that too. All right. Well, if you do think of anything that you ever think would be beneficial for us to have a learning session on, or to bring to the group for education, or to produce a resource with that would help you serving in your role, please let us know. Again, we're here for you to have that.
Kelly, do you have
Yes.
Samples for executive director evaluations? We have never, this is our first year to do it, and we want to do a 6-month and a 12-month, and we're already into January. We already have a contract with RED for 3 years, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So do you have samples for that?
We definitely do. It's in our toolkit. I'll ask one of my team to go ahead and drop that into the tool or into the chat for you.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, for the toolkit, you do need to be logged in to get access to that. It's about halfway down the page, and it's chapter executive director area. So you'll drop that down, and we've got a merit-based and performance-based reviews that you can take a look at. So
you guys are good.
We also have job descriptions in there too, if you're ever needing to take a look. And again, just remember, if these are samples, please definitely take it and make it your own when it comes to, again, the review specifically, since everyone's contracts with your CEDs look very different. So just make sure this is just a sample, edit it as you will. But yes, in that toolkit, you will find that. And that's a great reminder, Linda. It's really good to make sure you're touching base with your chapter executive directors, whether you guys have a regular call with them as president, just to touch base of how things are going, communication between the two, if there's any missing links or any struggles, because again, they're learning a completely new way to communicate as well. You know, your style of communication is probably going to be different from your immediate past president. So it's really good to just have those touch bases and also to do those reviews. So if you're not already doing a review, it might be good to implement one. And again, like we shared, we do have those that sample on our toolkit for you.
Is there any chance is there one of those resources that relates to this, like education session topic suggestions or webinars topic suggestions? It's another thing I feel like I'm always scratching my head about, what should we do a session on?
Yes. So something that we do put in the weekly email, so you should all have been receiving that weekly email that comes out on Friday. If you're not, please let us know so we can check the system, if it's going into your junk or if there's a firewall that might be in place. So we do send a lot of information out from that. Monthly, I believe it's monthly, correct me if I'm wrong, if we move to quarterly, we are taking hot topics that are posted in the general exchange group for members, and we're sharing those hot topics out as well. So if you're ever looking for education topics, that's a great place to look at with that resource of that list of, again, this is what our members are talking about. These are what they're struggling with. So again, that could be from more of a homeowner perspective or a manager perspective. But again, I think that's a great way to get some of those hot topic areas. Again, I think looking at the history of the exchange, I think usually about every 6 months or so, someone usually throws out a question. Hey, what topics are you doing? What education's been successful? So again, that's the great thing about exchange, is that we've got that history there that you can search. The other reminder that I do have is that we had sent out a survey from our board of trustee members for our chapter presidents to take. That is due tomorrow. Grace, can I ask you to drop that link to the survey? If you have not taken it, we're just trying to get some feedback around training, resources, tools that you might need. So please share that feedback. Again, that survey is going to close at end of day tomorrow. So if you have not taken it, if you could take some time, that would be really great to get your feedback from you. Did any of you attend the board packet session that we just held this past week? Okay. How'd it go? Did you get some tips that you might be able to bring back? I'd love some feedback. Zenny, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, 100%. I thought, I work for Lennar, so I run all of our HOA boards for Northeast Florida, Gulf Coast, and North Alabama right now. And so I feel like I pretty much have how to run a board meeting down pat. But I was very grateful to realize there were a couple of things that I could do better. Some of the things I was already doing, but some of the points about, restructuring, like the minutes, like that's not as important. So putting that at the bottom of the agenda instead of having that be the first thing, I thought, oh yeah, that's great. Let's go ahead and do like decision points first so we can get that out of the way. Oftentimes we have a lot of people on our board that'll be on in the beginning, but then they have to leave early. So yeah, I took away some nuggets. I thought it was a good sharing point.
Great, thank you. And Emily did drop the link to that into here. And so really, for those who couldn't attend, that was about structuring your board packets to be able to be more successful during your board meeting. It's about 30 minutes or so if you wanted to take a look at it. It's kind of a dry topic, so I apologize. I thank you for those who were on and stayed on the whole time with me. I appreciate it. Our next one that we're having, we usually try to have these topics monthly. And again, we're getting a lot of the topics directly from you or our chapter executive directors. But our next one's going to be in the end of February, and it's going to be about how you can utilize AI within your chapters to be more successful, more efficient on that. So we will drop that link in. Again, we do record all of these sessions. So even if you can't make it, we do have the recording posted afterwards, and you can share that out too. So, and this is just for our chapter leaders. So you, your president-elect, and your chapter executive director are invited to come to that session. And Grace did drop that in, so thank you. All right, with that, I think that's really the only last update that I have from our headquarters perspective. I'll give a second if anyone else from the chapter relations team has anything they want to update. I don't think so. All right. One last call out. Does anyone else have anything you want to bring to the group? Oh,
So,
Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, for those of you that have had your first meetings, hopefully this is a fun way to kind of wrap up this session. Anything you used as a fun icebreaker activity with your new board members and trying to get to know one another? I was doing some research, but I'd love to hear if anyone used any little fun icebreaker activities at the
start of their board meeting?
That's such a great question. We need to bring some more fun, it looks like, into your board meetings. Joe, you
We
came off
didn't,
mute.
yeah, we didn't, we know each other. All of us know each other very well. But every single year, towards the end of the year, we have a meeting with the committee chair, all the committee chairs and their the chair elects. And we always do an icebreaker for that because not everybody knows each other. So we'll something silly, and this year was just name one factoid about yourself that nobody knows. And it was honestly, it was pretty hilarious. There's some pretty interesting things going on in Georgia. And Emily knows about one of them, but we've had a little bit of drama in January, and I don't even want to burden anyone with it, but I see value in that. So if you don't know your fellow board members, try something like that. We ask them to say one little weird quirk about themselves. It always spurs up good conversations.
We've done that, 2 truths and a lie. I see that was just mentioned in the chat. We've done something like that. I recently saw something and I was considering how to work that in, where it was to go around the room and share an accomplishment or a story about something that you are proud of, that you were able to do or accomplish before the age of 18. And it's just kind of puts you on the spot to try and think back that far. I guess for me, it feels far now, but also kind of reveals about people's strengths, even from an early age, and the things that they've been able to kind of accomplish, I guess, is sort of the background behind that activity. So just trying to think about some of that stuff.
Yeah. I saw one once where it was you pull a picture up on your phone and it can be about anything. It can be it could be a tree, it could be your child, it could be your pet, and sharing something that made that pic, like, why did you pick this picture? Is it because you love art, or because, again, this is my child, or it's my oldest, or it's just this picture makes me laugh, right? And so sharing that, but that rationale behind why the picture was chosen. So I thought that was interesting. Outside of kind of just the getting to know, an activity that we've done with our chapter executive directors that they love and we do a lot is we get really big Post-it notes. It's like the size of a sheet of paper, and we have them write down a challenge that they're facing. And again, it can be personal, it can be professional, it's whatever challenge they want to do. And we give everyone time to go around the room and look at the challenges and write on it. And sometimes it's, I really hope that you can be successful. Like, so sometimes it's not solutions, but it's pep talk around it. And again, it's been a fan favorite. So if you're looking for an activity, that one's a little bit longer, you need a little bit more time. But I think the feedback that you get, it's for that person. They find it so valuable of that. So again, that might be something to incorporate too if you've got a little bit of time. While that doesn't help to get to know other people efficiently, it does give you that inner peace a little bit to find some solutions that you might be struggling with.
And these are really great ideas, and we have kind of been together as a board, which is great. But I do find each time we do some of these activities, I find out something new and interesting about this group of people. And so even though we do know each other, I don't want to stop doing this type of an activity, because I feel like you're peeling away at the onion, so to speak, each time we do it. And it's kind of fun. So I appreciate everyone kind of sharing their thoughts and the things that they've said in the chat too. So thank you for sharing that.
That's great. Thanks, Kathy. That was a great kind of closing topic to bring to the group. So I appreciate that. Thank you. All right.
See you in a week or two, in a week.
Yes, I will see you, and I can't believe it's a week away. I will be going to Illinois Trade Show, and so that's next week. which speaking of trade shows, how many are within the next couple of months? Are you guys ready? I know Minnesota, yours is right around the corner. I'm sorry, I'm looking at kind of the region that I work a lot in, so I apologize. I know Washington, yours is coming up in April, so you're in full force around that as well. How is everyone feeling with their upcoming trade shows?
Ours is next week.
Okay, are you ready?
So, no.
Are you
I think,
ever ready, right?
I think
that's
somebody
what-
is ready, but I'm not ready. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Well, try to have fun. Again, I know you're the leader of the chapters, and at the trade shows, you guys get pulled a lot of different directions. If you haven't noticed that in the past, it will definitely happen now. People will know your face, know your name, and everyone will want a piece of you. So good luck. Remember to take a breath. Remember to celebrate the successes, and especially at your trade shows, have fun with that day. Don't let the stress outweigh the day for you. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the first President Sharing Call. Thank you all for being very active and sharing and asking questions. We will see you in February, hopefully. And again, we're here for you. So if you need anything, if you're running into a challenge, if you even want to share that success story, please share that with us and reach out. And again, reach out to each other. You guys know this position better than I could ever know it. So again, please utilize this space. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Bye, thank
afternoon.
you.